You know, I'm green with envy for whoever has this car after me. Cringy joke. The Honda Pilot has been kicking it in sales since 2003 when it first came out. Let's see if this all-new 2019 Touring can live up to its name as it used to. Okay, so here's the key fob. It's pretty much the same as 2016 to 18. So you have your lock, unlock, remote start, trunk release, and panic button over there. And since we're on the outside already, the first thing you'll notice for 2019 is that you have a brand new front end, so a brand new grille and bumper and all that kind of stuff. So looking at the headlights for the Touring and Elite, you have full LED headlights, so that's LED low beams and high beams and DRLs, and you have a different kind of turn signal, but it's still an incandescent bulb, and you also have LED fog lights under that. And then the grille is the second thing that is pretty different compared to other older Pilots. It's a kind of the same, as it just splits the headlight, but it kind of looks like the new Accord, how it's just straight down and looks like a waterfall kind of. In pictures it kind of looks really weird and I did not like it, but in person it kind of looks better, so it's something that you have to see for yourself. Now on the side you have these 20-inch alloys, which are also new for 2019, and you can only get them on the Touring and Elite, so everything else either gets a 17 or 18-inch wheel. And now coming along the back, you have kind of the same taillights as last year, but just a little different. The reverse lights were on the bottom of the bumper down here before, and now they're up on the tailgate. I like this design better, and they made everything clear, like the turn signal and the reverse light. I kind of like how this looks more. It kind of gives it a Euro taillight look. Personally, I think that Honda made the Pilot look a lot better this year than last year. I was still not sure about how I thought about the last model Pilot for the 3rd gen, but this, I think it fixed all the problems that I have with it. Anyways, let's get inside. So like I said, here's the key fob, and it is still Honda's same smart key access system, so you can just walk up to the car with the key in your pocket or your purse, grab the handle to unlock it, it'll beep twice, and then press this little black button over here to lock it, and it'll beep once. Now getting inside, this Pilot has the gray interior. There's not too many color options for new Hondas. It's pretty much only gray or black leather, and maybe a tan depending on what color you have. But this model has the base gray leather. The Elite gets perforated leather and cooled seats. These are just heated. You get a 10-way power driver's seat and an 8-way power passenger seat, and you do have lumbar on the driver's seat, which is one of those 8 ways. And looking at the door panel, you have soft touch material up here. Everything pretty much looks sort of the same, or is in the same layout as last year, but you have soft touch material up here, piano black material below that, some gray plastic towards the middle and the end of the door panel. This is one thing, I don't know if this is from the factory, but I don't think it's supposed to stick out like that. But you do have 2-person memory for your driver's seat and mirrors now, but you don't have power folding mirrors. Here are the mirror controls. At least on the Touring you don't have power folding mirrors, but I believe on the Elite you do. Anyways, looking at the window controls, the driver and passenger side windows are automatic. They're your door locks, window locks, and the mirror controls are right there, like I said. And there's the Econ button, which doesn't really do that big of a difference. Down below that you have your parking sensors to turn them on and off, your pre-collision braking button, lane departure warning, traction control, and that's just a blank over there. And the parking brake is a push down with your foot. It's not electronic anything. But there's the trunk release and the fuel release. Now speaking about the trunk, for the Touring and Elite you can get a hands-free tailgate, so you just kick your foot underneath the bumper with the key, and it actually works better than the CR-V and the Odyssey. It's actually a lot more responsive. Now In the back of the Pilot, you can get up to 84 cubic feet of volume. So it's pretty much the same as last year, just maybe a little bit different. But you really do get a lot of space in this car, and you feel the size of it when you're driving it, but I'll talk about that later. But the third row seats do fold with this little latch. You just pull them, you just pull it, and then everything folds down like that. It's pretty easy. It's just with one hand. I'm just using the camera, so it's hard.
That's what she said.
But to pull them up, you just pull the lever and then it locks in place. You have to use two hands for it.
That's what she said.
But it's pretty easy. Now coming back to the door panel, at the very bottom you have some more storage back here, up here, and down here, and there's one of your speakers. The hood release is right there, by the way. Now getting inside, I really like what Honda did with this interior just for 2019. I like the little updates that they added to it. It's just a really nice place to be. Now, since this car has the smart key access system, you can just keep your foot on the brake and press the start button to go. And as you can see, the first thing that you'll notice is that you have new gauges for 2019. It's pretty much just as the same from the Odyssey. So I don't know how I feel about them. I kind of like an analog tack. It's kind of weird to get used to seeing it as a moving strip at the top. You have your temperature gauge on the left, fuel gauge on the right, and your information screen in the center. And you control that information screen with these buttons over here. So this is the home button. So it shows the trip computer, all-wheel drive torque. So it's pretty cool. It shows where the power is going. I don't think that it did that last year. Now, speaking of the all-wheel drive system, you have this button over here which controls it. So if you press it, it'll have normal mode, snow mode, mud, and sand. So it just changes how the car shifts, and it just appropriates torque differently to the wheels. Now, going back, you have your phone, navigation, now playing, which is audio, maintenance minder, and settings. And this just changes the units to miles to kilometers, and then you can have a blank screen if you want. But that's pretty much it. It's pretty simple to use, and I like it. It's pretty easy. Now behind the wheel you have paddle shifters, so there's the downshift and the upshift over here, and behind that you have your headlight controls, which are automatic, and your wiper controls, which are only rain sensing on the Elite. Now looking at the steering wheel, it's the same one that you'll find on the new Odyssey. I like the design of the steering wheel. At first it was kind of interesting, but it's grown on me. So on the left here you have your phone and audio controls. So there's the volume up down, home button. This controls the center display. The left and right is the track forward and backward and scrolls through presets. There's the back button for the screen. There's the Bluetooth phone button, pickup, hang up, and voice control. And on the right you have your cruise control settings, so you can turn it on with main. There's your lane departure warning, lane keep assist, and adaptive cruise control button over here, and these control set, resume, and cancel, so you can turn it on and off. Like now up top over here on the dash, it's all a soft touch injection molding, pretty much like a soft touch plastic with some faux stitching over here. And you have one of your speakers, since you do have a premium audio system for the touring, but it all feels pretty nice and pretty solid, and you just get a pretty solid and sturdy vibe from the Pilot. Now looking at the next big difference, you have an 8-inch touchscreen display, which is using Honda's newest version of Honda Link. So it's a lot more it's a lot more easy and a lot more pleasant to use on the Pilot. So looking at navigation, it's all pretty easy. This one runs Garmin. If you hit Where To, and then you can search your address. If you go back home, it's actually pretty quick too, which I really like. You also have Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. At the moment you don't have Waze, but in September Waze does come out for iOS 12, so that's a nice thing. There's not much to be confused about in this infotainment screen. Everything is pretty easy and simple to use. There's not too many crazy things to look for. Now, new for 2019 is that you have an AT&T hotspot, which is 4G, and it's actually pretty nice to use. You can use your tablets and phones and whatever you have in the car. You also have cabin talk, which allows you to talk to the third row passengers. So it kind of sounds weird. It's like a big megaphone that just goes to the back of the car. Now you can either have it project to the speakers or their headphones. So it's pretty nice. You can get your kids' attention or just have them hear you better, but it's not that far back there, even though the car seems pretty big. Anyways, down here you have the same tri-zone automatic climate control. There's the temperature control for the driver and the passenger, and the rear settings are down here, so you can lock them out. You can change their settings or turn them on and off. And down here is the sync button, which makes all sides the same temperature as the driver. There's the modes, fan speed, AC on off, and recirculation. And here's the on-off button, auto, rear settings, front and rear defrost, and the rear defrost also turns on your heated mirrors. And down here you have heated seats, which are 3-stage, and the Elite also adds ventilation to the driver and passenger side seats. And if you can notice it, just one of the small things that Honda did change, the way the buttons look is also different. It kind of looks a little bit more premium. Now down here you have this little tray, which it's pretty nice to put your phone in. This is an 8 Plus and it has plenty of room down there. And you have a power outlet and a USB port, which is 2.5 amps, which you can charge your phone and also use it for CarPlay. Now down here you still have the same 9-speed automatic transmission. I personally thought that Honda would put the 10-speed in here, but they did revamp it a little bit and change some software so it doesn't hunt for gears as much as it used to. But when you put the car into reverse, you just click back, and it has a very nice quality backup camera. I don't know if Honda changed that for 19, but it's really high quality, and you do have guidance lines which do steer with the wheel. And this is the wide view right now, and this is the normal view and top down view. And you do have rear cross traffic alert, which actually works very well. Honda sensing is standard on all models, by the way, so I believe you get the active cruise control, you get the pre-collision braking and the lane departure warning features, and a bunch of other little things. It's standard on all models from the LX through the Elite. So that's a nice touch. Now over here you have two pretty large size cup holders, and it's nice when you do turn the lights on, you have some ambient lighting through here. You have a lot of little ambient lighting throughout the car. It's a blue light. I wish it was white, or you could change it, but if you can see the little blue lights on the door handle, in the little door pockets, the cup holders up here, it's pretty nice. I like what Honda did with this new model. Now over here you have this little center tray, which the last model had, but when you slide it back, it shows an aux jack and another USB port, and next to that you have another power outlet. And this center console is actually really big and really deep, so that's very nice. You can fit your purse or any bags you have on you. You also have folding armrests, which are adjustable, if you can see that, and they do ratchet in different positions for the driver and the passenger, so that's nice. Now looking at the glove box, it is damped, but it's not felt line, it's just plastic inside. It's the same size as last year, could be a little bit bigger.
Really? Nothing.
Now over here, also new for 19, is a frameless auto dimming review mirror. You have garage home link that links up to 3 garage doors, and there's the auto dimming on off button over there. Over here looks pretty much identical to the last year. You still have the same incandescent halogen interior lights. There's the sunroof controls. It's just a regular pane sunroof on this model, but I believe the Elite gives you a panoramic sunroof, but the rear doesn't open. There's the Honda Link Connect button and the Honda Emergency Assist button. And over here you have a little conversation mirror and a sunglass compartment over there. But you don't have cabin watch like the Odyssey though. And over here you have visors with lights and mirrors. And yes, Jacob and Yuri, they do pass the visor test, and they pass it pretty well, at least by me. Now getting in the back, the rear doors inside are pretty much the same as last year. You still have the same side curtains for the rear passengers, and the materials kind of deteriorate in the back. It's just hard touch material up here and soft touch materials over here and a soft touch armrest. The rear windows are not automatic, but you do have 2 cup holders over here. Pilots have always had this. I can remember a 2003 Pilot having this. The 2 pretty nice sized cup holders over there and some storage down here. And now talking about the rear seats, they do slide forward and backwards, so you can give the third row passengers more room if you want to, and you use this button to get in the back. I'll show you guys the third row in a second, but you use this little lever to recline the second row seats. Now the Touring and Elite only get 7 passengers as standard, but you can get an 8-passenger model for the Touring, I believe, but as an option, and I think it's a little bit extra. Now getting in the back, you have 2 map pockets over here, which are soft, and they're not like the hard ones that don't conform to whatever you have, so that's nice. And over here you have your rear air vents, so that also leads to your rear climate control. So there's the temperature control over here, fan speed, auto, on, off, and modes. And you do have heated rear seats for the Touring, which is also a nice feature because that used to only be reserved for the Elite. Now, the Pilot also lets you connect really well. So you have 2 2.5 amp USB ports over here, a 115 volt power outlet, which is 2 prongs by the way, 2 external headphone jacks, and an HDMI port. So if you really wanted to, with having a Wi-Fi hotspot, HDMI port, and a power outlet, you could play Fortnite or whatever you want back here.
Nice.
But that's just in theory. I don't think you can... I don't know if this can handle a PS4 or an Xbox One, and you guys can talk about which one's better in the comments. But anyways, also another addition for 2019 is the new version of the rear entertainment system, which is pretty much found right off the Odyssey, and you have a 10.3-inch display, which is also bigger, and the quality is actually really nice. You also have 2 wireless headphones that come with it, and also the remote. And up front you can put in Blu-ray discs or regular DVDs, and you can also stream through the Wi-Fi hotspot as well. So looking at the rear entertainment system, here's the remote. It's pretty much the same one that you'll see in the Odyssey, and it's pretty responsive just like the front. You also have that same How Much Farther app, so if your GPS is set for somewhere, it'll actually tell whoever's in the back how many miles left and the time of arrival, and it shows a little pilot driving around there. It kind of looks pretty stupid, but for kids I guess they wouldn't care. But you also have Spotify, which is cool, iHeartRadio, and you can stream things through the HDMI or through Wi-Fi like I said earlier. So in the middle of the 2 seats, since this is the 7-passenger model, you have 2 kind of small cup holders and a little tray. I don't think it moves like some other cars, but it's just fixed there. Wish it was kind of higher, but you do have 2 armrests, which they just have 1 fixed position, but they're pretty soft, pretty nice. They're just average armrests, just like the last model year. Now to get in the third row, you just press this little button, so it's a little electric latch which pushes the seat forward, and it gives you a kind of decent amount of space back here. And if you can already see that this seat is all the way back, and you have not too much room, but let me get back here. Now behind the second row, if you push this seat all the way back, my feet can fit underneath the seat, and I have maybe 2 inches of leg room behind the second row, and I think they would be pretty comfortable. And this is more like a 6-passenger car, unless if you have 3 kids in the back, because the middle seat for the third row isn't wide, and just the third row isn't wide, period. But you do have 3 cup holders over here and 3 more on the other side, and 2 air vents, which I'm glad that they thought about the third row people back here. But you don't have any sunshades for the third row, unlike the second row. It's also nice that you have this little same electric slider for the second row to get out. Now lastly, about the trunk, you have a little power outlet over here, and for the spare tire it's actually underneath the car, and you have this little storage that the old Pilot had, and you can flip it upside down. So if you have something wet, you can put it there, or something dry, you can put it there. And for the spare tire, you pull this little thing up, and you can spin to get the spare tire out from underneath of the car with the little toolkit, which is somewhere underneath, but you should find it when you're at the dealership actually looking for the car. Now, the same thing that carries on for the last model year Pilot is the same 3.5 liter V6, which is powered by Earth Dreams. It's Honda's J35. It's direct injected, but not port injected, and it makes 280 horsepower and 262 pound-feet of torque, and that's carried through a 9-speed transmission, which is made by ZF, which, like I said earlier, was reprogrammed for 2019. And an all-wheel drive system. Now, about fuel economy, you should be expecting about 19 miles per gallon in the city, 26 on the highway, and a combined rating of 22. Now, you should be getting a little bit more. I've seen people getting the high 30s with their Pilots. Well, anyways, let's see how this thing drives. Now, one thing to note that annoyed me kind of, is just a little pet peeve of me being spoiled, is that you don't have hood struts. You just have this little flimsy strut bar over here. Anyways, let's see how this thing sounds. So behind the wheel of the Pilot, my first impressions of it are just, it's really smooth. I don't really feel that much bumps, and I'm kind of on a bumpy park road, and I'm gonna go over some more bumps right now. But about the size, it doesn't feel as big as you'd think it is. If you look back in the rearview mirror, you're gonna kind of be a little shocked on how big it actually is. Well, it looks big, but compared to something, if you're coming from an Acura MDX or something, it's kind of the same size. Now, around little tight corners, the steering is light. I don't really like light steering. You don't really feel where everything is. Well, you don't really feel the road if you're coming from something like an Accord or something like a car. But I think you'd expect loose, well, not really loose, it is responsive, it's just you don't have that much road feel out of it. And the transmission is actually a lot better than last year, because I tried out a 16 with the 9-speed, and it just, all it did was hunt for gears, go up and down, up and down, up and down, and now it's just better. So I think you should be getting better gas mileage out of this car than the last model. So on bumps, it pretty much rides the same as last year. With the bigger wheels, it kind of does take away from how soft the car drives. So if you're getting something like an EXL with smaller wheels, it should be a little bit better. So regular off-the-line throttle response is pretty normal. It's not mushy, the gas pedal, and the brakes actually feel pretty nice too. They're more progressive, and they're not touchy like some other cars, so it's not too bad. And body roll, the car doesn't really roll around in corners, which is nice. So you kind of get the best of both worlds, but it's never gonna feel like an MDX or a luxury sports SUV. But now we're gonna put it in sport mode and then get on it and see how it does. You hear VTEC, that's really good. And it goes. We're gonna see how it does from a roll to 40. when VTEC goes in, it really goes. It sounds like a J35. It sounds good. It's good. Nice.
Nice.
Another thing that a lot of last-gen Pilot owners complained about was the auto start-stop system. And it's actually pretty good on this. It's not, you don't feel any jerkiness when it shuts off and starts back up again. And it doesn't really do it all the time. When the AC is on, it doesn't really do it, just because it needs more power to do it, I guess. But on regular roads at 40 miles an hour, this thing is really smooth. You don't feel any bumps. It's just really nice. It's a really nice road trip car. Just long road trips on the highway, and I think it would get pretty much around 30 miles per gallon if you're easy on it, and if you want to use eco mode, which I don't use eco mode. So inside, even on bumpy roads like this, there's not that much tire noise. It's pretty nice. There's not too much to complain about there. Just, I think Honda re-engineered or just put more sound deadening. The engine's pretty quiet too. I kind of wish it was louder. If I had this car, I'd put a cold air intake on it or something. But for pretty much everyone else that would buy this car, it's really good. And also, going up hills, the transmission actually knows what gear it has to go in. So I think they did a good job on reprogramming the transmission, because even in some Acuras and some Jeeps, whatever uses the ZF 9-speed, it's just not pleasant when you're just driving slow up hills and down hills. It doesn't really know what gear to get into unless if you're on the highway, and it just goes into 9th gear and sits at 1500 RPM at pretty much any speed, which is good for gas mileage, but sometimes if you want to pass someone, it's a little laggy. And the transmission is not too laggy on this when you get on it, so that's nice. And the paddle shifters, if you're actually using them, like if I'm coming to a stop, there's not that much of a delay, so that's nice. Unlike the last model, I believe that there was maybe not even a second. Actually, not even that. It's actually really quick, so that's good. So for the Pilot, just like 2018, it starts at the LX, which is $31,450, and these are two-wheel drive models, mind you. Then there's the EX, which is $34,330. Then there's the EXL, which is $37,760. Then there's the Touring, which is $42,520. Then there's the Elite, which is $48,020. And now new for 2019, Honda sensing is standard on all models, so that's LX through Elite. And that includes the blind spot monitor, pre-collision braking, automatic high beams, and a lot of other different features. Now about competitors, the main competitor for the Pilot would be the Toyota Highlander. Then there's stuff like the new Subaru Ascent, Volkswagen Chevy Atlas, Traverse, Ford Explorer, Nissan Pathfinder, Kia Sorento, and the Hyundai Santa Fe XL. And I feel like there's a few others. So I hope you guys enjoyed getting up close and personal with this all-new 2019 Pilot with me today. And I hope that this brought some educational value to you and you learned stuff about this car. And maybe you might even buy it. So I guess I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye, peeps.